Hello, Tommy. Can you hear me now?
Yes, can you hear me? Am I too loud or am I okay?
You seem to be just fine here. Let me get you on the screen. There you are. All right, Tommy Hawksblood. Appreciate you coming on the Edge television broadcast tonight. You're over there in the Big Island, I take it.
Yes, the big island of Hawaii, and the weather here is so lousy for the past month. It's crazy, raining all the time.
Oh man. Well, I'll tell you what. Make sure you don't got any tsunami warnings over there.
Well, they come and go. We have a lot of earthquakes pretty close to us out in the ocean, and we're right smack in the middle of the ocean. But we don't get hit with them. Every time they warn us, it doesn't hit us, which is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
I
Hey,
mean, we got the geothermal plant here. We got a HARP system here. We got all those things that you heard about here. Chemtrails every other day. So it's like everywhere else.
let me ask you, Tommy. What did you do when that goofball gave the false nuke warning over there?
Well, I don't worry about anything. But my partner started calling her family up and telling them and saying, look, if you need anything I have, it's all going to be yours, blah, blah. She was just like telling everybody that she thought we were going to die. A lot of people did. If one part of this island got hit, it would affect, I think, 90% of the people here.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we have a small population compared to the rest of the world, but we do have the highest population in drugs and homeless, which is not a good thing. So,
Wow.
a lot of people don't understand what Hawaii really is. The geothermal plant had to release the gas when they thought this tsunami was going to hit us the last time, and it killed 4 people, and it put 120 people in the hospital. There's things that people don't follow up on or listen to. And the UFO world's crazy. We can go into that as much as you want as well.
Mm-hmm.
But there's just so much stuff going on in this island.
Mm-hmm.
Except it's expensive. Anybody that's going to come here to live, make sure you have money and a good amount of it, because a gallon of milk can go anywhere up to like $9.
Really? I
I
can't even
mean,
imagine.
things.
I can't even imagine there being a cow in Hawaii. I figure y'all be having luau's and stuff. But let me ask you something. Do you ever have like competing? I'm not being facetious here, but do you have like powwows or is it always luau's?
Well, there was a powwow once a year here on this island, but sadly, only 16 dancers come. It's all about sales and vendors and things like that.
Mm.
I danced at 3 of them while I was here, but 2 of them were rained out. 2 of them, there was only like 5 people there. It's not a big thing.
Yeah, so it's
I
not
mean,
it's not conducive to the Indian way of life. But all right, so but you said you're not scared of say tsunamis or a nuke warning from some freak Democrat in the city council over there. So what is your foundation that gives you that strength, say, to nuke's coming. You obviously don't have any worries about it. What's your foundation for that?
all right. I don't want to go through my whole history right this second, but it started when I was little. As far as alien, my brother was almost abducted by a ship. Uh, I was so close to an alien in my house. I saw ships so close. I dealt with that. I had 5 death experiences. I don't know how much you accept out of body experiences and things like that.
Well,
But I also learned
it's
to
really
leave my
not a
body.
matter. Well, Tommy, and for those watching the program and saying, "Well, I don't believe him" or whatever, to me, it's not a matter of believing it or not. If somebody has a story, I'm not going to say that didn't happen because I wasn't there. That's the way I look at it. So.
Well, what I want to say is most of my experiences that I use as far as for proof, I
Mm-hmm.
always had a witness or a person with me. Uh, when I saw my first alien, I was in the hospital with my brother and another person, and the ship came right up to the window. When I had an alien that came towards my house and everything, I had a friend of mine staying over my house with me. My mother was there. So the person that I started doing UFO research with many years later, Soil 18 up in Wanacue, we were always together. We went out 4 nights a week, 4 to 6 hours a night. We filmed anywhere from 500 to 1,500 pictures every night. We have more pictures than anybody else in the United States on, not, I was going to say Bigfoot, sorry, UFOs, creatures, entities, you name it. And the biggest UFO story is not spoken about, and that's the story of Wanacue Reservoir. Tesla was working with DuPont there. That's when the whole Philadelphia experiment was being brought out. I mean, it's a real serious situation because it's documented. I talked to policemen that were there and everything else as well. My friend was running towards the ship. The reservoir was created when they flooded the city. When they flooded the city, for 6 months, the Army was stationed around it. UFOs were going in and out of the reservoir for 6 months. I mean, that's all documented. Even when the lake froze, the ships went right through the ice into the reservoir. So there's a lot of story behind that. And when we went up there, we were on government land. And all the signs around it said, do not enter, you will be shot. But we did. We went in there about 9 o'clock at night. We came out 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. But what we saw in there within those hours, I'm not going to say every single night, but I'd say 2 out of 3 nights a week we saw something, had weird stuff happening, and a lot of things came out of that. But go ahead, sorry.
Well, okay. Did you see alien ships? Is that what you're saying? And did you film
We
them?
saw multiple ships and creatures. There was, we're not sure because I never got a good picture of it, but we see these red eyes in the woods up in the trees and stuff, like really high. And everybody says, oh, that's a Bigfoot eye, Bigfoot eye. I did see a Bigfoot. I came 1 foot from a Bigfoot. So I know they're real. I always knew they were. There was 3 of us there. And when it came next to me, which it was right in back of me, I didn't have my camera on me. I went running towards the truck and I said, we need the camera. Get the camera out. And I had a scientist sitting in the truck and Sergeant 18 was in the truck with me. And by the time I got back to the truck, he locked the door. And I said, open the door. He goes, no. I said, come on, get the cameras out. And he rolled the window down about 2 inches and said, what'd you see? I just said, I just saw a Bigfoot. Oh, I don't deal with creatures. I only deal with aliens. That's what he told me. And the scientist is sitting inside the truck with his hands. He didn't move. He didn't move in 10 minutes. He was frozen solid. He just stood there with his mouth open. So finally, my friend finally opens the door and steps out. And what'd you hear? What'd you see? I said, the Bigfoot was right in back of me and it stamped on us. And then all of a sudden we heard it scream. It screamed like every 30 seconds. I don't want to do it. It would break your eardrums if I tried to do it over the microphone.
Oh, give it a try. Give me a low tone. Give me a Bigfoot scream.
But it sounded like a baby and a wolf together, kind of. And it was like so loud, but it was every 30 seconds. And that was something we never heard while we were there. And then it stopped and it was dead silence. And we're in the middle of Wanacue up by the reservoir. And all of a sudden, wolves were howling. Wolves were all around the island. We were there for 3 years in the woods every other night. We only saw wolf tracks. We never heard a wolf ever. And then after the Bigfoot was screaming, then these wolves started howling around the mountain. So my conclusion was one of them was chasing the other. One of them heard the other or was trying to defend themselves from the other. But that was it for that. I mean, I got 2 more contacts with Bigfoot later on in Washington State. But that's not part of my thing. I knew a friend. I have a friend. His name's Keone. He's one of the Bigfoot people. Writes all the books on him. But I'm not into it because the native people talk about working with Bigfoot. They never help them. They don't do anything for mankind. So I pulled away from that completely. I mean, I was watching all those TV shows. But I don't know if you saw the latest. This guy that put the Bigfoot head up, the feet and the hands and everything. He has the whole body of a Bigfoot. It was frozen since 1953.
That's not the one in the freezer, is it?
Well, he took the body parts out and showed them.
Yeah.
He showed the head. He just showed the head recently. He showed the feet. Yeah, his father killed it in 1953. And it was frozen since then. His father died, so now he's taking it out, and he's going to try to make all kinds of money with it. But I like I said, it's only going to affect the people that go out there searching for Bigfoot. I mean, all those shows that were on TV for a couple years, the ones were going out trying to kill it, the other ones were trying to capture it, and not one of them ever got really close to it.
Would you say that hobbits are really Bigfoot small people?
Hobbits?
Yeah.
Hobbits, no.
Well,
Hobbits, no.
Okay, well, they seem to have big feet too as well.
Well,
but anyway, somebody congratulated you on that Bigfoot howl there. Hey, let me ask you another question. And again, this not being facetious. This actually happened on the show. We've had a number of Bigfoot experts. One of the last ones we had on there claimed that he saw some lesbian Bigfoot. Now, in all my years, been doing this 2004, I never heard and never knew that lesbian Bigfoots even exist. I mean, how do you even know that they got them underneath all that hair? I mean, was it cold and you could see, or I don't know. Have you ever heard of lesbian Bigfoots?
Well, that's ridiculous. First off, he would have to be watching them have sex and things like that to understand that or know that.
He was enjoying that, yeah.
But Sasquatch and Bigfoot, they're very sensitive. They're very open to noise, frequency, sound. People can't get close to them very easily. And for them to watch them have sex or something is so ridiculous. But this guy that has the frozen Bigfoot said he claimed he took off the body part and showed that as well.
Well, hang on, not to stress the point. But now I just said earlier when you said, I think you mentioned, I don't know, out of body experience or something, and I said, or astral travel or whatever, and I said, well, I wasn't there, so I couldn't say yes or no, but you are pretty definitive that there's no such thing as a lesbian Bigfoot. Why would you be so adamant about that when I say... I'm not trying to prove that there is. I'm just saying when you hear a story, and even your story, do people automatically dismiss it, say because they think logically, I don't see that, that's fooey. But what I say is true. I'm just trying to.
Oh no! I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
All I meant is for him to say that Bigfoot's a lesbian, he had to watch him have sex. That's the only way he would know. And
okay.
if he watched him have sex, why didn't he film it?
So what you're saying is that they don't, or they can't. They're not equipped. They don't have access to sex toys.
A lot of Native people say they worked with Bigfoot.
Okay.
All right. A lot of people I know say they work with Bigfoot. None of them said anything about them having sex or sex with them or want to have sex or things like that. So, and I know a big percentage of the UFO people in the world. I lectured half of my life. I've been in it since I was 6 years old. So when people talk, people that have stories have great stories. I don't want to say a name of a person, but she's been involved with cattle mutilation for 35 years and doesn't have one shred of proof yet. You think after 35 years you would have some kind of proof. So for me personally, like I said, we have thousands of pictures. We have hundreds of videos. My friend was trying to sell a video of contact when he met the first alien. He was going to sell it to a museum in London for $1 million. And every picture we shot is completely unmade up, unfaked or anything like that. So we put pictures up. I was on Project Camelot for 9 months. We put 5 to 10 pictures up every week of aliens, creatures, and orbs.
Wow.
But when I was lecturing with global sciences around the United States with Sergeant 18, we would take people out into the woods and let them film orbs, because everywhere we went, we would film orbs. We were the first people to go public with that in New York City. We were in the Whole Life Expo, and I was taking pictures the whole time my friend was speaking, and then we showed all the pictures, and there was these orbs all over the pictures. So, we got involved that way, and then when we lectured, people wanted to see orbs, so we were taking them out at nighttime. I'd do native dancing. And then somebody got a picture of me with thousands of orbs around me. 3 people shot the same picture. So, I try to prove what I talk about. Death is one thing that you're going to learn sooner or later about it. Whether you're going to understand it now or not's a different story. My new book, The True Teachings of Jesus, is based on past life experience being with Jesus. I know people will object to that. But I'm coming into contact with about 5 people that were alive in the time Jesus was alive. And they just got in touch with me recently. So I can go on and basically tear apart the Bible, which people would hate as well, because there's so many lies in the Bible. And it just makes simple common sense can make you understand it. If you go into the story of Adam and Eve or Sodom and Gomorrah and all those stories, but let's start with Adam and Eve. Why would God, which the first thing he says to Adam would be a lie, why would God have to lie to Adam? For a being or the concept of a God at that point to lie to a person, it wouldn't have to. So why would it lie? And then would it say stupid things like our kind, our kind means plural. God doesn't have to talk about plural of him itself. So every word that goes through that whole part of that. But here's the thing. What I believe, mankind, men have become twisted with the idea that they're better than women because of the story of Adam and Eve, thinking that woman came out of the ribs out of Adam. And that's why men think they're better in religion.
Well, Tommy, would you like to counsel? Would you like to counsel God and advise him how to speak, or would you like that?
Oh no, God is what it is. It's not what men perceive it to be or a woman perceives it to be. We want it to be a certain thing. Again, I can talk about what Jesus was teaching. He was not just teaching about love. I mean, how long could you teach about love? How do you go about teaching love? Why would he have groups of disciples teaching him love? And then why would people want to kill him because he was teaching about love? It doesn't make any sense.
Well,
Second of all...
Okay, Tommy, let me ask you something. Do you have a dream catcher?
Not in my room, no.
Do they work?
I don't use too many physical objects in my work. I study with a medicine woman for 25 years. I work with crystals and everything else. I do have meteorites in my room, which are very powerful. If I let somebody hold it, they can feel the energy and they get blown away. But the native teachings I pulled away from most of my teachings because you work with, what are you working with when you pray to God? What are you working with when you pray to Spirit? What are you dealing with? What do you think you are with? I mean, the native people say they work with the star beings. And the star beings, they don't even know what race it is.
So you're saying that dream catchers don't work?
I'm not saying they don't work. I don't use them. Okay. I had a dream catcher for a couple years.
That rocks and crystals do?
I'm not saying they do either. But the people believe them. Here's the thing. Whatever you use, if you pull out a paper clip or a crystal and tell somebody this is the most powerful crystal on the planet, and they believe you, they give their energy up to you. That's how people heal other people. Because when a person gives over their energy to another person, they assume that that person's healing. Everybody has the ability to heal themselves. Jesus said that. But when they go to other people and ask for healing or some psychic comes out, oh, your karma is gone. You're free of karma.
What you just said there? So do you say that what Jesus said was true?
I believe everything Jesus said. I believe, and I know for a fact, for myself, not for anybody else, Jesus was the most spiritual being ever to walk this planet. I'll go back to Egyptian times, back to Atlantis, and any other time. When after Atlantis went down, we became much more evil. Killing became a part of reality, and all the games that people play. But that's because alien races got involved. And the races that got involved are bad races. And people want to believe that they're good.
So you have seen an alien?
I've seen an alien. I was next to a ship, really close to it.
Okay.
I got to say this story because this is what started my whole life in a different place. I was 6 years old, going to the hospital with my brother, and we were having our tonsils taken out. And we were little, so they keep you in these cribs with the pull-up sides and everything. So I'm in a crib on one side of the room, my brother's in the other side of the room, and this other person's on the opposite side of the room talking to me. All of a sudden, I see my brother standing up in the back of the crib screaming, and he's screaming, Tommy, Tommy, Tommy. I jump over the crib. I'm a little kid. Jump over the kid, go running towards the window, and this big ship, bright lights coming straight towards the window. I don't know why. I took both hands, put it on the window, spread apart, and just stared at the ship, and then it shot right back out into space. I didn't know what was going on. I'm 6 years old. I didn't know what it was. I just did what I did naturally. And later on, I learned about crossing souls over. I got into witchcraft. I got into hypnosis. I got into everything. And I did everything. I was doing ghost busting in New York City when I was 16 years old. I was doing group hypnosis when I was 14. And I started doing past life regression when I was 19. And that was in the late 60s.
Have you ever had any, or did you ever go to any conventional church?
I was baptized a Protestant when I was 14. And when I was baptized, we were allowed to ask the minister 4 questions. Okay. So naturally, I had 3 questions. I said, okay, what's God look like? And his answer is, nobody knows what it looks like. I said, what's it look like in heaven? And he said, well, nobody knows what it looks like in heaven. And I said, well, why do you believe in God? So at that point in my own reality, I mean, I went to church every Sunday, went to Bible school and all that. And I said, well, this path isn't for me. If you don't know your own God, I don't want to follow it.
Okay.
I learned,
Let me ask you something. What did the alien ship look like?
well, the one that was coming when my brother was almost abducted,
Yeah,
or
yeah, that one.
I was, it was kind of more of a whitish ball of light with kind of like a silver point, what would you say? A cylinder coming out of the light on both sides. So it was just too bright to see the whole solid object of the ship. But later on in my life, when I was 12 years old, I would have my friend over my house, and the alien came down in our basement, and then the ship took off. It was a regular, I would say, kind of like a basic saucer ship in those days. Now, I got close to Fred Bell, who was close to Billy Myers. Those ships don't exist anymore. When people say they see that ship, because there was a video just brought up in California of Billy Myers' ship. Well, the Pleiadians don't use those ships no more. They're outdated, just like all the ships we use are outdated.
What does a Palladian look like?
What do they look like?
Yeah, what
I
do
didn't meet
Palladians
the
look?
Pleiadian. I
Yeah.
only base it on what Fred Bell told me. You know who
That's-
Fred Bell is, right?
Yeah, but you've never seen one yourself?
A Pleiadian? No. I looked at Billy Myers' pictures of them. I saw their ships and everything, but I didn't see them.
Okay.
So, but
Okay. Then what about this? What about this alien that you said you saw? What he look like? It.
well, and I hate to say this, and I really don't want to, but I will.
Okay.
The first alien I ever saw looked like a being with a cat's head. James Gillen of the East City Ranch, that's what he said the alien looked like when the ship came over his house, and he gave it a name and everything else.
Who saw it first, you or him?
I saw it first. I'm
Okay.
older than him, and I saw it when I was
hmm
12 years old.
hmm
So he just saw it rather years ago when it came over his house, and then the alien came in the room and started teaching him and all that. But
hmm
I came across other aliens later on. I was doing past life regressions. I was working with people that were abducted. I did psychic implant removals,
hmm
people that have missing time, people that didn't know what happened when they were on a ship. I worked with a woman who worked with Bud Hopkins. Bud Hopkins, first person he worked with was my best friend,
hmm
and she was being abducted for a year. So I was doing hypnosis on her for a year.
So are you saying
And
that hypnosis stopped abductions?
I do something. I do something I created. I call it psychic implant removal. Now, when an alien puts an implant in a person, they usually put some kind of crystal or some kind of little piece in their body. What's his name? The person that removed him just died last year,
Stephen Greer?
and he,
No,
uh,
Doctor.
yeah, you know who it is. I can't think of his name.
Hey, but let me ask.
Uh,
Let me go back here. Um, you said that the ship was a ball of light.
right?
Now, how can are there are you saying there were beings on this ball of light
Yes.
riding around? Do you know that
Uh,
God is described as light?
I I will. I consider that a separate topic. If you want to go that way, we can, because dealing with God, spirit, light, and
hmm
energy, light and sound that comes from God is not. I had 5 death experiences, and I go against 95% of the people that had a death experience,
hmm
because they said they see the light, they go into it, and they met their grandfather, they met God, they met Jesus, they met somebody, and they came
But
back.
people have described
That's
what Jesus looked like when they had a near-death
well,
experience.
but all the descriptions of Jesus aren't even close to what he really looked like, because he
What does he
wasn't
look like?
white, didn't have
Oh,
blue
tell
eyes,
us.
he didn't have light skin, and his hair wasn't super long.
Okay.
So all the concept of that was created over pictures and pictures and pictures being painted of him. But again, Jesus' eyes were incredible if you looked into his eyes, because they were dark,
hmm
but they were like light within itself. So nobody on this planet that I know in a physical reality had the light that radiated around him. The
hmm
same as when he came to a town, the children knew he was coming, and they were in the streets waiting for him. They could feel the light. They
hmm
felt the
hmm
energy.
Okay. Did you okay over there?
Yeah, I just had my dogs up barking.
Oh, okay. Okay. Did you time travel and go back there and see when Jesus arrived and saw the children?
No. I was with Jesus in the past life.
Oh, okay. And what did he tell you?
I wasn't taught. I mean, it wasn't like just him and me. Mary Magdalene was my closest friend. I stayed with her the whole month. Jesus was with her when she got pregnant. When she actually had Jesus's child, whether
Was
they want to say that or not.
Yeah.
Now, let me
Was
say
this
this.
revealed? Was
Here's
this
something.
revealed? Was Tommy? Was this revealed to you under hypnosis?
No. An actual past life experience.
Hmm.
I spent 30 years in a religion called Ekankar,
Hmm.
learning how to go into past lives, how to leave the body, and all that.
Hmm.
But my first lifetime that I remember in the physical world was in Atlantis. And then I can go on through multiple lives, but the only one that was important after that was when I was with Jesus. I was native in 2 lifetimes. I mean, I was in Egypt. I was with the Egyptians and stuff. They have no clue about death. I mean, they thought they did because they were working with an alien at that time. All the
Hmm.
teachings they have are ridiculous. Go back to the Emerald Tablets, taught the Atlantean and his teachings. He wasn't dealing with God. What I will say, all through history, from the beginning of time, and the first religion was the Hindu religion, whether people want to realize who was dealing with what. In the beginning of time, I mean, the Emerald Tablets came out, and he
Hmm.
was teaching about the Silent Nine, the Council
Hmm.
of Nine.
Let me
But
ask
when
you
we
something.
go into
Let me just
go ahead.
ask you something, because it sounds like you came out of church of some kind. Did any of the priests or preachers or pastors, anybody ever touch you inappropriately or anything like that?
Oh no.
Okay. Okay. So
I listen. I'll
why
tell
did
you
you?
why.
Okay.
I worked in a Catholic church for 9 months.
Uh huh.
And I watched these priests go in these rooms with a gallon of wine every
Hmm.
day. I watched them put girls' underwear on the lines in the basement.
Okay.
I didn't actually see the sexual things that went on in these churches, but I've been finding out in every religion right now, including Buddhism, you name it, Christianity, all those religions,
Hmm.
and the Pope himself is hiding these sexual predators. I mean, that's a sad thing.
Okay. But
I was sexually abused.
you were never abused, right?
Oh no, I was abused. I'm not saying that's not
You
true.
was abused by who?
By people. Uh, it's in my first book. If anybody wants to know the actual things that went down, I got 2 books out: How to See God, my first book, and The True Teaching, When Truth is Called Crazy. That explains what happened with me when I was a child, how I pulled away from dealing with people in a greater way, and that's why I started working with the deity when I was
Hmm.
6 years old.
Have
And that
you
deity,
ever heard of split personalities or multi personality
yep,
disorder?
yep, yep, never had
Have
it.
you ever considered you've had it yourself?
Nope,
Okay. Have you ever considered that you might have some?
nope. Not at
Okay.
all. I
Have,
know everything that happened in my life in detail right now. I
mhm.
could go over from the time I was 3 till now. What events, who hurt me, who did this, what happened, anything that good that happened in my life. I know every single thing. I mean,
Tommy, traumatic experiences, especially to the child, if your personalities did split and come up with an alternative history, you wouldn't know that.
well, here's the thing. You know, I dealt with psychiatrists because of a lot of things as well. And now what they'll say, they don't understand anything about possession. They don't understand anything about abduction. In the United States, they cannot legally use that as something wrong with a person. I've been dealing with women that lost their children 8.5 months pregnant, 2 years in a row, seeing the x-rays of the child that's supposed to be inside her stomach that was missing 2 days later when she went back to the hospital. So I know the facts behind all this, and people say, oh, you're crazy. I say I'm crazy going sane. And most people are sane going crazy. I'll say 90% of the world's going crazy, where I'm
Hmm.
going sane because I'm becoming more in tune with God, Spirit, the truth. And if you want the truth, as far as all these things, nobody has more pictures of creatures that came out of the Philadelphia experiment. Nobody knows how bad that really was. What happened
Hmm.
with the Montauk Project when that big rip, it actually put the whole West Coast, I mean, the whole East Coast in the blackout from California, I mean, from Florida all the way up to Alaska in one day. That's when the time frame of the Montauk Project came back. I was dealing with Al Bielek, and he was the one that was the only person that came out of the ship that went through time. And he told me they were going to kill him right after, and they did. I know multiple people that are dead and killed. John Ford, who's in the nut house in Long Island right now, shot a picture of a ship that crashed on Long Island. It's the most incredible video of a ship crashed. It's all over the world. He's got 4 people that have it. It won't be released to the public unless he's killed, so the government won't kill him. They said he had uranium, and he was going to kill Congress, and that's why he's in the nut house. John Edmund, do you know that name?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, he was a top UFO with a green light and everything, capturing videos of ships and all that. Well, I was really close to him, and I was going to buy an infrared camera from him. 2 weeks before he died, he told me they're going to kill me, and he was killed. He died 2 weeks later. So I can go on about multiple people I know that disappeared, died, that went to jail, that have been involved with UFOs. People that get too close to certain things, they don't want going out to talk. Now, look what happened to Phil Snyder. I mean, and he's one, and people say, well, he's crazy. It was this. You can say anything about things you haven't experienced. And also I'll say to you, what I teach people is how to learn how to leave their body and get in touch with spirit. Because that's the only thing that's going to matter when you die.
Okay, Tommy, I got a question from Bill Sexton. He says, why is it when people say they've been abducted by aliens or have seen angels or been to heaven, they say it calmly like it's just a matter of fact?
Well, you know, Bud Hopkins is the one that created the theory on how to determine if somebody's crazy or not when they see a UFO. And here's the thing. If you're right, if you see a UFO and you see that person the day after or 2 days later, they're still shaking. Their body's still emotionally out of balance. Now, when Fire in the Sky, Travis Walton, I was talking to him. He's still out of balance. He's still not aware what happened. But he's saying he's spiritual now. People that have these, even a death experience, they come out and write a book on spiritual healing and spiritual wake. I mean, everybody's ego and the mind comes into play. What I was going to say about death experiences, if you die, you're not going to experience the same thing that the physical mind understands because nothing's solid anymore. To say you're going to see a person standing there and this and the light, I went through the light. I went on a vision quest with the medicine man, and he said, don't go into the light because if you do, they'll capture your soul. Barbara Marciniak wrote about that many years ago, and it's one of the best books about abduction when you go through the astral plane or when you leave your body. So there's multiple things that you have to know or understand. But by doing past life regression on people, I got to see what they experienced or what they believe they experienced.
Okay.
Oh,
all right, Tommy,
I didn't answer the question.
Oh, okay, go ahead. Quickly.
Okay, people that get upset and go crazy, calm down after time. They push it out of their mind, just like a girl that gets raped. They push it out of their mind and forget it, or try to. And that's what usually happens later on. If somebody's just going on, well, I was there when this happened, then they're making it up. It was a dream. It was that kind of an experience.
Okay. All right. We got a number of other questions for you, so let's get to them. Peter from Australia wants to know, how do you leave your body?
Well, it's not complicated. It's a matter of a form of meditation. You learn to block out the physical reality and focus on a light, on a simple ball of light inside with your eyes. And you close out, you play sound if it helps you balance out your body's vibration. And as you do that, you slowly sink into the light. When you go through the light, I tell people there's always an angel or a spiritual guide. Every person has one, whether they want them or not, if they're ready to deal with them. And that they will meet that spirit when they leave their body, and it'll start taking them places. And here's the thing. You can start proving things when you do that. And you need to prove anything you say you experienced to yourself, because you're never going to prove your experiences to anybody else on this planet, because everybody has their own experience in their own way and what they accept or don't accept out of it.
Okay. All right, here's another one. It says, why are you still here since you saw these aliens? I don't know if they're suggesting why didn't you go with them. Maybe that's the query there. Have you ever went up there with them?
I'm protected.
Okay, by who?
By spirit, by God.
By God. Okay.
I can't be abducted. Demons can't possess me. All those things can't happen to me. I've been around it, and I did exorcisms for a couple of years as well. I know the top exorcist in the United States. He does 300 a year, so they're real. The Pope hired 1,500 people to do them.
Tommy, I just heard on I don't know, Fox News or somewhere, and it said that the request for exorcisms in this country have just gone viral. Just people, there's just not enough people that can perform the exorcism. What is going on? Is there a horde of
Okay.
demons running around or what?
I'm going to give you a short story. I'll try to make it as short as I can, but this is the reason for everything happening right now.
Okay.
Going back to the Philadelphia experiment, when that happened, they put a rip in the vortex from the planet to the interdimensional astral plane. When that rip happened, it allowed all these negative beings to come into this world. Negative energy, and that's why all these ships are here now. Everybody's seeing aliens, everybody's being abducted, everybody's working with possession. All these things came in after that. And then right after 96, they started going after all the UFO people, because 200 people were killed in 1 year, UFO people.
Wow.
So 96 was when Phil Snyder got killed. Sargel and me were doing a TV show called Strange Universe, and we put videos of ships shooting out ships and everything on that show. And the week later, it was taken off the air. The week after that is when they arrested Phil Snyder, John Ford in Long Island, and put him in the nut house. And he was being blamed for uranium, and he was going to kill Congress. But he was one of the MUFON people who used the uranium to check his Geiger counter.
Okay.
So, I mean, all the stories fit together. But getting back to the story, when this rip happened, that's when supposedly Al Bielek went through time. They went 20 years forward, backwards. And now, all over the internet for the past 3 months, they're showing Al Bielek's prophecy of 2039, showing that only a quarter of the planet's people are going to be here, and 90% are going to be robots working on these islands floating. So, and that's what he saw when he went into the future. Al Bielek was killed. There was a time cycle, the 20-year time cycle, and he told me, I was friends with him. He said, they can't come after me until after the 20-year cycle because that would change history. And right after that date, he had a serious accident, and he got sick, and he died. But that was the creating of the vortex opening. That's where Brian, Sargel 18, and me went every day, every other day, filming these creatures and these strange phenomena is coming in. These I don't want to go into all the things because
all right.
I don't want you to believe in all this stuff. But
Okay. All right. Another question for you. From Mr. Peanut out of the Fast Blast. Could the spirit meet you when you die? The spirit that meets you when you die be an archon?
yes, it can.
Not sure exactly.
If you're not protected, if you're not in touch, in tune with spirit, and understand God in any way, you're not protected. The original Exorcist, the movie.
Yeah. With the girl.
That's
with
a
the
real
head
story.
Spinning around.
It was a boy. The true story it was a boy. It wasn't a girl.
Oh, really?
2 priests who died during that exorcism because a priest reads the Bible. He doesn't know anything about demons. The same as aliens are abducting people now. They don't know a clue about it. So a friend of mine he's the top exorcist in the United States, and he does about 300 a year. And he works with the aliens, the good aliens that he can. He works with the demons. He gets rid of them. He helps these people. So whether it's real or not, when it affects a person, when they do horrible things and they stop doing them, it's a good thing. But like you said, the Pope hired 1,500 people to do exorcisms outside the Catholic Church because he doesn't have the people to do it. But if you don't understand God, you're not going to go against a demon.
Well, I think the Pope needs to exercise. He needs an exorcism on himself.
Right? No, I agree. He's trying to change the 10 Commandments. He said hell doesn't exist. He says a lot of things.
Okay.
I think he's a very evil person, definitely. And I know people follow him. All my family that are Catholic, they worship, and I said, well, he's trying to create a new religion. He should just create a new religion.
Now, so were you ever a member of a Protestant church, or was it always Catholic?
I was Protestant for 14 years.
Well, then you moved on over to the Catholics, or what happened there? You want to shake some beads?
My ex-wife, my first wife, was Catholic.
Okay. And
then I went into I studied with the Hare Krishna for a little while. I studied with the Jehovah Witness to see what they were teaching. And I was searching for anything that anybody could teach about God. And what I found out, no religion can talk about God in any good way. Other than, it's a caring, loving, protecting being. Really? I said, I know when somebody loses their child, well, God's not watching, or God's evil, you have to realize God's not a person, and people want to make God a person, looking like human.
Tommy, are you
And
mad at
that's where
God?
the same.
Are you mad at God?
No, I love God. God's the only thing I live for and plan to die for.
Okay.
I
Okay.
know
Just
where I'm
checking.
going. I know the world that I'm going to go to.
Mhm.
Now, here's the thing. Eckankar is the only religion. There's two religions in the world that talk about the realms you go when soul dies, when you die. And there's different realms. The astral plane is where every soul goes when they die. And then there's the mental plane, the soul plane, and realms beyond that. And you can meet shamans. You can meet even Sundar Singh, who's the highest in the Singh religion, the one that teaches that. And they talk about the realms that you go through when you leave your body. I mean, even the Buddhists talk about the astral plane, and they talk about the plane of Bardo. And that's like hell. You go there for 40 days, and then you come back to this planet. So you can take all religions, but they don't talk about God.
Huh. Okay. All right. Another question for you. It says, have you ever used the name of Jesus to end an alien abduction?
Well, I work with Jesus, so I don't have to say, hey, Jesus. Jesus is with me. Jesus' light shines through me. I don't have to say, hey, Jesus, get this guy out of here. I can tell you a quick story. There's a family I met on Long Island. She was one of the first people to write a book on aliens, and she was killed for it. But during that, the aliens came into their house and abducted one of the people. There was 6 people in the room. She levitated out of the window in this green light, and then they were taken on a ship. But both the mother, that was really the grandmother and the daughter, and they were being raped by the reptilians. And she said, "In the name of Jesus, let us go." And they were thrown on the ground. All right, and when he was thrown on the ground, she had a heart attack and died. So how real the story is, I mean, I was in the guy's house. I was talking to him. His wife was dead. He showed me everything. He showed me the book. I read the book. And basically it was about him. He meets with 2 aliens later on, and he thinks they're angels. It's the angel I came to know. So, and he thinks he's working with these aliens for like 20 years. And then they do hypnotism on him. And then he finds out it's these 2 alien beings trying to teach him. So, and this is a true story in New York City and Long Island.
Now, so the reptilians obviously are rapists, but what about the Greys or the Archons? Are those rapists?
The icons are so different than everybody else, but the Greys don't have sex. They don't abduct people and have sex with them ever.
No wonder
they
they're
take
mad.
The embryo. They take all those things and stuff, but they don't have sex with the humans.
Well,
they take the embryo.
There's your problem right there. They all frustrated and whatnot.
Well, they don't eat like we do. They don't eat through their mouth. I saw, and in this I saw a real video of cloning Greys that the government had, and they are kind of like they drink through their pores, then they put them in blood to suck their blood, and that's how they eat. They don't eat person through their mouth, and they're a lot different than they don't have to walk like we do. They don't actually touch the ground when they walk.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things about Greys. They're so different than the Reptilians. The Reptilians, I did 2 TV shows, and one of the girls that was on there said she loved the sex with the Reptilian.
Whoa.
And I'm serious about that one. It was on TV too, believe it or not. I have one of the worst lawsuits against the phone company because they tried to say I got hurt on a UFO, which I didn't.
Well, I'll tell you what, Tommy. Listen, we're right at the top of the hour. We take a 5-minute break. Anything you'd like to say about your book or website, you go right ahead.
Okay, my title is The True Teachings of Jesus from God Realization, and you don't have to believe anything in it, but it'll help you look at everything you think you know.
Okay.
And we'll be back after the break.
All right.
Thank you.
You betcha. We'll be right back after the break. All right, everybody. Welcome back to the Edge Television broadcast. We're going to take a 5-minute break, and we'll be right back with our guest, Tommy Hawksblood here. And here we go. And welcome back to the Edge Television broadcast. My name is Daniel Lott. If you've missed any of these first hour of the program, we'll begin to replay on our main player. Next week, we're going to have with us Klaus Donna talking about out-of-place objects. So be sure to come back to the Edge next week on the same Edge broadcasting website. You can find us on YouTube as well. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Now let's go back to our newsmaker line. Bring back with us Tommy Hawksblood all the way from the Big Island of Hawaii. Tommy, welcome back.
Greetings. Real fast on that, you just talked about out of place artifacts.
Yes.
Sergio 18, my partner that I did all this UFO stuff with, has one, and it's worth a fortune. It's a rock with a knife inside it. The knife was made in 18 something, and the stone is over 500 years old. No possible way it could have been made or put together. So that's called an out of place artifact, and he was trying to sell it, and he's still trying to sell it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we came across a lot of things in our travels up in Wanacue. There's weird things that we brought people there. Most of the people that we brought there had serious problems afterwards as well. When you start getting, and my new book's coming out, How to See a UFO. It's going to bother, like I tell people, when you get involved with trying to deal with aliens, demons, you open yourself up to it in a great way. But I'm as real as it gets. I did ghostbusting. We have proof of the things we did. Everywhere I went, we always had 2 people, 3 people together. I wasn't doing everything by myself and had bad dreams, woke up in a horrible space. So, again, when people say, oh, I'm an expert. I've been doing it since I was 6 years old, and I never stopped. These people get involved 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and suddenly they're an expert. Mm-hmm. They never even had an experience with a UFO, never saw an alien, never saw an entity. I never worked with possession. Depossession is really a hard thing to work with, which I did. Again, somebody asked me, can I be abducted? I can't be. I'm too close to spirit. And spirit does protect spiritual people. And there's very few people, and I hate to say this, I wish, and I've been trying to find somebody that I consider spiritual that I can talk to at a higher level. Because most people don't understand death. And death is the most important thing to understand because you're going to die sooner or later. And where you're going to go, what you're going to do, and all those things are important, or should be. Mm-hmm. Even Buddha said every second you should be thinking about death because you're 1 second closer to it.
Wow. Okay.
So there's a lot of things that people don't want to deal with. But when I was doing ghostbusting, I was in the most haunted house in New York City called the Jumel Mansion. And I was working with the top psychic for years. And she could channel almost anybody. And we proved everything she channeled. And she would channel beings and mostly people. And we would prove different things. And she said, well, I'm going to have this spirit wants to stay with you all day. And I said, okay, let him come with me. So I went on a fishing trip. And then he jumped into her and she started telling me everything that happened on a fishing trip. So I challenged her almost every day as well. But I look for the truth. I don't want to hear lies. I don't care about lies. And when people make up a great story that they had dinner with an alien or they're going to work with us, I said, prove it. When is an alien going to help us? And then they all go into... Now, Zacharias Sitchin is one of the most evil people, I think, because he created an energy wave that affects most people believing the whole story about the Anunnaki. And they aren't a race that's going to help us. They never helped us. And they didn't make us. We're different races here. I mean, that's one thing I'll disagree with people. We're not all come from the black people. The Hopi people didn't come from the same black people either. Mm-hmm. So races didn't come from the same place. So Adam and Eve's story is kind of weird if you're trying to put different races into it. Mm-hmm. But getting back to the races that came here, there's 4 races here now. In Atlantis, there were 9 races, 5 races left, and they were different colored races. But again, when we deal with people that are here, the black race, the white race, the yellow race, they're different races. They're different beings. It's not like, you know how long it takes a DNA cell to change from a frog to a toad to a dinosaur? I mean, how you change from them? It takes millions of years. And for everything to be perfectly right in the new body that it takes, it's like an impossibility for it to happen naturally. So when science says we found the God cell or the God gene and all that, it's just delusional stories that they brainwash people to believe that there is no God.
Tommy, this question is from our moderator, Jay. She asked this question. Is Hawksblood your family name, or what's the origin of that name?
It was given to me. I'm half Native, and half brother died. He was 21 when he died, and he was Little Hawk. So I became Hawksblood after that, and that name was given to me at that time. Like I said, I'm only half. I danced for 25 years around the United States. I danced with many tribes. I sat with many elders. I studied with a medicine woman for 28 years as well. Mm-hmm. So my teachings, I understand the native teachings. I studied like the Tibetan path. I'm staying with a Tibetan Buddhist. So I know all the ins and outs of religions, but they do not give credit to God ever. And that's sad to me, because without God, there's no reason to live. If there was no God, what are we? Just maggots and playing games? And the human race is really shrinking back to that, because they don't know what the word morals mean. And without morals, we can't move forward. The Ten Commandments are completely forgotten. And even Moses couldn't follow the Ten Commandments. And what's he do? Make 613 more laws after it, which were ridiculous, that nobody could ever follow. So we talk about religion, and I said, do you read the Bible? Do you see what they do? You know, Moses came up the mountain and killed 3,000 people. You know, when he got to the promised land, they slaughtered all the people that were there. That's not a spiritual movement. So when people talk about religion, religion was always a war, even with the alien races that came here. I mean, the Egyptians talked about which god they work with. The Mayans talk about Quetzalcoatl and the beings, the gods that they supposedly work with. But if you go in, I work with a deity. I work with 4 deities in my inner worlds: Shiva, Durga, Kali, Manjushri.
Right.
And what they teach are nothing to do with planet Earth. They don't teach you how to get a job, how to do this and how to do that. And that's not what they're there for. And when people say, well, I'm working with, and all these people, and there's thousands, well, I should say millions of people saying they work with Michael and Gabriel. And I said, what do you think Gabriel and Michael would have to say to you right now? Get a different job? Or go out and buy a car? What do you think these beings would say? Now, and I did a whole show on Muhammad, because he claims he met with Gabriel, and Gabriel taught him. And I wrote down all the things that Gabriel supposedly said to Muhammad. There's 36 phrases that he supposedly told Muhammad, which Muhammad created his religion out of. And every fourth one contradicts the one before it. But it's all based on men and based on their religion. So it's contradictory to an angel coming down and teaching, because nowhere else in history did an angel start teaching. Angels only come with warnings and warning signs and warning and things like that. So when people go on about, well, I meet with Gabriel and I dealt with the top speakers, how to talk to God, conversation with God, Danny Brinkley, and people like that. And I went toe-to-toe with them, because I said, look, and I don't know if he would want to say it or not, but I had dinner with Danny Brinkley. And he did the conversation with God. No, sorry. What was his Saved by the Light? All right, Daniel Brinkley. And we were in dinner. There was 13 of us, and he started talking. And I said to him, "But can you say you ever met God?" And you know what he did? He stood up. He's a giant guy.
Okay.
And he says, "No, I didn't." And this is one of the most spiritual people, because his book was a bestseller for 3 years. He said, "I'm a Luciferian from the 1700s. I killed so many people. I'm going to have to reincarnate many, many times over to pay off that karma." And he said that in front of 13 people right then and there. But he's one of the top people in the United States for the vets. He does more for them than anybody else. He sets up centers. He sets up fundraisers. He does everything for them. He's trying to pay his karma back, and that's what he does for his life now. So, I mean, I challenge people to the max. I'm not afraid to go against Lucifer. I work with the head of for the mob. They have their own high priest and things like that. And I stood toe-to-toe with them, and he walked away. He said he was afraid of me. I said, when you deal with God, anybody dealing with entities and demons and stuff can't come near you. And that's why a person that's doing an exorcism, if they're not connected to God or spirit, they have no right to go and try to do an exorcism. Just reading the Bible doesn't give you that purity and protection.
All right. Here's a question for you: Is somebody would like to know what your blood type is?
I think it's be positive.
Okay. All right. Phil from North Carolina says you can only be safe in the hands of God if you're sealed by God's Spirit. Do you agree with that?
Well, see, here's my definition of spirit. We're soul. Each and every one of us is a living, active soul. That's connected to God through spirit, the light and sound that comes out of God that radiates us. Whether we tune into that ever or not, it's a different story. However we deal with that is another story. But it is there. If we learn what it is protection.
Okay. And another question for you. Is it true that reptilians eat humans? Now, you said earlier in the last hour that they rape women, but do they eat humans as well for a snack?
They do. That's definite. I met multiple people, and one of them's a big famous person as well, who dealt with the tall whites. And there's a base in Area 51 has Area 52, Area 53, and Area 54. And there's different alien bases as you go up that mountain. And the reptilians are on the top. The tall whites are on a lower grade because he worked with them directly.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't eat, but they can't come near a person without killing a person. So
Wow.
they're a race that we'll never really work with, even though they volunteered to take us to another planet. They asked the government that they would take us to a world that's very similar to planet Earth. And the government said, well, we want your technology, but we don't want you to take us there. So that went down, and that was his story when he worked with them. But the reptilians, all the people I met that work with them, that say they work with them and all that, they are rapists. They are into sex. They are into eating humans. Now, Greys don't eat people per se. I mean, it's not like they would cook you on dinner. They have to absorb your blood.
Ooh,
and
nasty.
And the way they absorb it is they put the government's cloning them in these vats of blood, and that's what the whole thing about cattle mutilation is about. And Linda Moulton Howe never said a single word about it yet. And I challenged her 3 times on Coast to Coast because she comes up with great stories. And I said, you're totally wrong, because she was saying the cattle. Right now, there's a real serious virus in the United States called the zombie deer virus.
Wow.
And it's affecting 13 states right now, killing the deers and making them toxic. So if people that are going hunting, I'd ask be careful where they're hunting and what they're actually doing, because it's a dangerous disease. But Linda Moulton Howe said that these deer were drinking the water out of the reservoir, and that was making them sick and killing them. Mm-hmm. And I said, sorry, I drove across the United States. The elk and the deer are dying all across the United States, not just next to the reservoir.
Wow.
But they're calling it mad cow disease. So another ridiculous statement.
Okay, well, we've heard that one before. Mad cow disease. A floor worker from our YouTube chat asked this question: is there an angel of light?
Angels are light. We are light. When we become aware and adjust our vibration to it and balance our karma and get paid, we are light. We're all light. And that's why when we leave this physical body and go into the higher worlds, you're a light. And it's not like, well, I'm going to sit there and have dinner. I'm going to talk to people. Mm-hmm. And to say God is sitting there watching us, it's like, oh, you think God cares if you go to the bathroom or not? Mm-hmm. Really. So it is. We are. Mm-hmm. And the angels are. Mm-hmm. And the amount of light. And some people, I met 3 people on this planet that radiated a large amount of light around their body. Reading auras is something easy to do if you're trained to do it. And if anybody wants to learn, come on my show one day, or I'll talk about it. And it's not a complicated thing to learn, but it's interesting because when you see a person's aura, they cannot lie to you.
I'll tell you what, I can't lie. I got a halo going on myself.
I see it.
There should be like a little bell ringing there, thanks to my operator here. Well, let me ask you something then. So, if you're dealing with these entities and you have your methods of dealing with them, what do you tell people that are affected by them? Do you have like a course, a plan, or do you tell them what works for you, and then do they just implement it, or how does that all work?
It started when I was 17. I was working with children that had demons in their closets and under the bed and all that. And I worked with them. And I said, I'll give you a protection. I'll give you a name and a spirit to call upon it. And everybody I ever worked with, including later on people that were abducted, because I started doing psychic implant removals, never had a bad experience after that with aliens or demons or anything like that. But there is a protection. And there's ways to go about teaching a child how to protect people. And I say in schools, they should teach children how to protect themselves from negative energy. Because when their mother comes home from a bar, she brings that energy into the house. Mm-hmm. And all these places that we go is energy. And whether it's manifested as an actual demon or an entity or not, it's still energy. Mm-hmm. And it affects a child. Because a child, whether you know this or not, children, very little, can see the light. They can see angels easily. Mm-hmm.
Wait a minute. Did you say you give children spirits?
I give them a guide name to call on and work with.
Mm-hmm. So you have like a book. You have like a black book of spirits, and you just select.
No. It's simple. It's really one thing. And my book, How to See God, is my first book. Mm-hmm. I give it to anybody that wants to read it for free. Mm-hmm. And my second book is When Truth is Called Crazy. I'll give that to anybody that wants it for free. Mm-hmm. Just go to hawksblood1AOL.com and say they want your book. want my book, I'll send it to them. I don't want to make money on my books. I never did it for money. My new book on Jesus is because religions are so far from mainstream understanding why they're here. And I mean, saying love and compassion is the answer. Yeah, it would be if everybody on this planet accepted that as the reality. But
Well,
as long as
that's
people,
what I've always said. They say the human race is moving toward some nirvana somewhere, but you got half the planet that's cutting people's heads off. So I don't know how we're ever going to get to that. But let me,
well, okay.
so it seems to me like the Earth has a long way to go. Somebody asked the question: Are you now, or have you ever been involved with Freemasonry?
No,
Okay.
no, I haven't.
Okay.
I know people involved with it, but I have not.
Okay.
Up in Wanacue, New Jersey, yeah, there's Freemasons up there. They own it. That's where the aliens coming into the reservoir and everything. That's owned by Freemasons. There's a tower there with the symbol of the Masons on the building as well. So yeah, there's a lot going on up there. And Tesla got involved with it.
You said at the beginning of the second hour here that you're half Indian. What tribe is the half there, Tommy?
Apache Mescalero.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, I'm going to say when you're around the Apache, do they pretty much accept half?
Here's the thing. When you meet with the elders, they look at you. They look in your eye. They'll accept you because they can see your spirit. They're more apt to see in spirit and working with reading auras and stuff than most people are. And right away, when I sat down with almost, I'd say 20 different tribes, the elders. I was with Thomas Binyaka right before he died, and he was the oldest Hopi elder of the Hopi tribe. I sat down with a lot of the elders. I went out to South Dakota. I was on the reservation for a while, and I sat down with Crow Dog and the highest medicine people, and they recognized me. I mean, everybody I've ever met, the high lamas I meet, everybody, they can feel your energy. They know where you're coming from. Like these people, what I would just want to say real fast, why the world's screwed up right now is because the games they allow children to play, the movies they allow them to see, those games program a mind. And I know they know that. How could you let a little child play a killing game? I mean, I remember when I was little, we weren't allowed to have guns no more. They took guns away.
All right.
Then all of a sudden they started putting guns out with red tips on them. And then they started going into paint fights and paint guns and all that, and they went back into it.
My favorite toy was Mr. Potato Head.
Right, mine. Well, the potato gun I had too as well. You
Yeah.
shoot potatoes at people. But
Well, that's violent.
That's funny.
But hey, all right. So Phil in North Carolina asked this question for you, Tommy Hawksblood. If the reptilians can eat us, if we catch one, could we eat them, and would they taste like pork?
No, they would be disgusting and they would be not healthy. They would probably kill us. They're radioactive for one. That's
Okay.
why they're trying to change the world to make it radioactive. They're trying to change the vibration of the planet, destroy the food and water that we eat, make it all toxic because they can't live here right now. The Greys live underground because they can't survive above ground. So yeah, there's reasons why and what, whether we would want to eat a reptilian. We ate dinosaurs in those days. So, but again, they weren't toxic.
Right on.
Like these creatures
I mean,
are.
I'm thinking dinosaurs are probably pretty chewy. But to say that we ate dinosaurs, Tommy, you're going against the theory of evolution on that one.
Well, now here's a fact, and I'll tell you straight out. Michael Cremo is one of the top archaeologists. He wrote 3 books: The History of the Human Race, The History of the Planet, and he's got a few other books. He has actual artifacts that prove that's a complete lie. Solid objects, like out-of-place objects. He has a stone with dinosaurs and human skeletons in it together. They have the first canoe that was ever made, wasn't made by a monkey because it had all weapons inside it. I mean, he has artifacts around the world that prove everything we perceive as time frames are wrong. Now, again, you go into the caves, all the hieroglyphics of people riding dinosaurs in the caves and stuff, the hieroglyphics and stuff. So, and I don't know if people want to believe in mermaids or not, but there's 3 specials out there, and you should watch them because there's some videos there that the government shot of one, and they don't want to admit what it is. So there's things that most people aren't ready to let go of their programmed idea, which was programmed half of their life.
So what you're suggesting then that mermaids are real?
I would say they're real.
Okay.
Not that I ever came next to one.
And what about fairies? What about fairies? And I don't mean like Elton John type.
Okay, I'll tell you this. All the elementals the native people work with, the fire spirits, the water spirits, the air spirits, the tree people, the rock people, they work with those spirits. They're real. And if you go to other countries, the gnomes, I met a gnome of 13 of them solidly,
Wow.
physically. They're real. You go to countries, they have statues of them and everything, and they believe in them. So to say that I don't believe in them, that's your choice. You can meet with them, but they're leaving the planet as well because the world's too toxic for them. All the fairies, the gnomes, the nymphs, and things, they're leaving because they got no place to hang out. The jungles are toxic. Everything's becoming polluted.
Where are
So
they
why
going?
would-
Where are all these creatures going, Tommy?
There's different dimensions. And in my first book, I described there's 3 dimensions to the physical reality. There's 3 dimensions to the astral plane. And each realm has 3 dimensions. And when you first obviously go to the first realm. Then when you get developed, you go into the second. Or you reincarnate. So there's multiple things, but these beings are moving into the higher realms. They don't need to be here anymore.
Okay.
Good.
I was going to say, that's the very reason that I don't have a garden gnome, because I know them creatures is creeping around out in my yard, so I won't have one.
Well, we learn to respect or disrespect things, good or bad. And that idea of what's good and bad, what alien's good. Here's the thing. In a boxing match, 2 people go in there to beat the other person up. Who's good? The one that wins, that makes you the money? Yeah. Not the one that's a spiritual person. And I just watched a kickboxing match just 2 nights ago for the first time. And they both had crosses and Jesus. One had a tattoo of Jesus on his back. The other one had a cross on his back. And I said, here's people trying to be spiritual, and what do they do to make money? Beat people up. So how do you perceive your God or your spirit and say, I'm working with that when you're out there killing people? One last thing on that. Christians that go to war and kill people in another country are going against their own spiritual truth. I mean, if you believe in the 10 Commandments and you kill somebody, you destroy your chances of going to heaven.
Okay, so are you saying
that's in the Bible.
are you saying we shouldn't have fought World War II?
Here's the thing. Again, if you listen to what Jesus said, give yourself to God and you'll have eternal life. Try to hold on to it, you'll lose it. And people that try to hold on to their bodies by killing other people lose it because they will not go to heaven or a higher space or a higher
let me ask
dimension.
something. If somebody is attacking you and you shoot them to defend yourself, is that murder or is that self-preservation?
Well, defense is one thing. You're going to shoot him in the head or you're going to shoot him in the leg. I mean, if you shoot him in the brain, obviously you're going to kill him. I mean, even in martial arts, I studied martial arts here for a quarter of my life. I took Aikido because it was the only one that's not the aggressor. It's a defense style. Somebody attacks you, you defend yourself. You don't kill the person. I mean, they get hurt and everything else because whatever they do comes back to them. But when you go out of your way, like some karate people, I knew 2 martial artists who used to go into a bar and stop fights every other week, go in there and take on the whole bar. But that becomes a serious problem spiritually. 2 countries, you have to go back to when we started having wars. What race started creating
so are you saying we should have let Hitler live?
Look, we created Hitler. We create what we have here right now. I mean, when Egyptians faded away, there was a reason why. When these different races of beings left, when the giants in the United States disappeared, the native people were killing them. All right? And you don't see that anywhere in history.
Well, when the Ten Commandments said thou shalt not kill, wouldn't it? I think didn't the original say thou shalt not murder? So wouldn't defending one's country be considered self-preservation and not murder?
Well, here's a separation. Moses' God wasn't Jesus' God. I mean, the Bible will make it sound that way. And it even twists what Jesus said in the Bible when Jesus said, well, Moses was right about what he said. No, Moses was never right about what he said. Moses was working with a God. He comes off a mountain talking to God, and then he kills 3,000 people because they were demons. They killed the native people by calling them demons as well. It was easy to kill a native person. Oh, he's a demon, kill him. That's why they were called the redskin. That's why the devil was always painted red. So it's programming. We did the programming, but it was the white race that did all the killing all through history.
Well, you have you've quoted a number of things from the Bible as being truth. So are you saying it's half true and half not?
A lot of the stuff, there's small bits of truth in the Bible, but a lot of it's lies. I mean, when you go into, I can go into, okay, even the New Testament, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Only 2 of them were Jesus' disciples. 2 of them were evangelists, and one of them plagiarized the other. And it's in my book. If you want to read it, I'll tell you exactly where and how. When Jesus met Lucifer.
Is that a problem? Is that a problem?
Plagiarizing what somebody else said?
Yeah.
I think so.
I don't think that word even existed back then. I mean, it might sound like...
Well, what I'm saying is these evangelists were hanging around with the followers of Jesus, and they created their own story, is what I'm trying to say. But he had to use his story.
Did those stories contradict previous stories, or did they basically say the same thing?
No, it was exactly word for word.
Okay, so what's the problem?
Well, he's quoting something that he doesn't know. To say what Jesus did when he was with Lucifer, Lucifer taught about Jesus. I mean, Jesus taught about Lucifer. All right. So when these people say, well, he was in the desert 40 days and 40 nights and blah, 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 they don't know what happened. Or he was tempted. Who said that? Somebody that wrote it down saying that's what Jesus said. Again, it was plagiarized. Jesus. I can only say what I can prove to myself that I know Jesus said.
What is when you quote the scripture there, aren't you plagiarizing? I mean, what's the difference?
I'm repeating what that said. I'm not saying I said it. Now, when you say you said it, you're plagiarizing somebody else. You can't write a book and say you said it if somebody else wrote it.
Well, you can't do that in 2018, but what about 0 AD? I mean, there was no crimes as such.
First off, when Jesus was alive, only one disciple could actually write that was with him. It took 100 years for the stories to start becoming gospels. Then they were written by other people that weren't there, never knew Jesus, didn't know anything about what he was doing, where he was. I mean, it was all story passed down by other people making a story. And you can't pass a story down more than 10, 20 times without it being totally different. So, again, I was there. I can only say I give my life to my truth. I will die in my truth. But I will say Jesus was the most spiritual being that walked this planet. He did not teach love only. His secret teachings were given to the disciples for a reason. Here's something that people should really think about in any religion. Mary Magdalene was also the most spiritual woman to live on this planet because she was taught Jesus' teachings. She had to teach Peter the truth. Peter would have never met Jesus if she didn't teach him how to meet with Jesus. She was this person that carried the power. She traveled the world after she went underground, after she gave birth to her daughter. And she traveled the world teaching.
What's her daughter's name?
And then she became Sarah. She was a beautiful little baby. But I don't know what happened when they got older, because they supposedly lived for a long time. But then they got involved with the Knights of Templar, and they built 4 temples for it was really for her daughter. It wasn't for Mary Magdalene, because she was already too old. But you can follow the truth, you can follow the lies, and it all sounds good. But when you say Mary Magdalene, and the Christian church gives Mary, mother of Jesus, all the fame and fortune. She had no power. She was always in back of Mary Magdalene. Mary Magdalene was the one of power, did everything, taught the disciples, and she had that power to teach them, to show them what they had to learn to do. So to say she was, I mean, that's why 100 years later they came out with the story, she was a hooah, she was this, she was that. They were all lies. In the beginning, they only confirmed that years ago. They said Mary Magdalene wasn't the hooah. She was a goddess of the temple, which she was. And that's where Jesus spent his time.
Would you answer the question, is Jesus the Son of God, or was he God in the flesh, or who was he?
Jesus was the Son of God like all souls are. He never, ever said it. It was written in the Bible. He said it once that him and God are one, but he didn't mean it that way. I was there. He was never said he was God. He said, I am not God. I am what you call me, but I am not God. He says, my Father. He always said my Father. He never said me and me and me. I mean, he never did that, and he never wanted to be. What his teachings were had nothing to do with being a God. He had to teach them a technique to leave their bodies. Well, they couldn't have met with you. Jesus didn't come walking around in a physical body like they write about in the Bible. He came in a spirit body. So the whole concept of that was twisted. What was that?
Because you were there.
Well,
I mean, when you
I can tell you. But look at it realistically.
Okay.
Why would Jesus come to teach love and get killed by people?
Well, realism doesn't really applied to the spiritual nature of the Bible itself. You know, just the way it is. To the carnal mind can't understand the things of God and thinks they're foolish. But if we try to reason with those words or what was written and you apply 2018 knowledge and experiences to those things that happened back then, I think we're going to get it wrong, Tommy.
Okay, here's the thing. Jesus used the word Father because they couldn't understand God. Nobody knew what God was, ever. And that's what I'm saying. All through history, they never really described what God truly is other than super powerful. So when Jesus spoke, to speak to people, farmers and fishermen, how do you describe a supernatural being of superpower, super energy? You say your Father, because that's the only thing they could relate to.
Well, that same analysis is used with Ezekiel's wheel. It says a wheel within a wheel, and people say, well, that was a spaceship. But that's applying this century's knowledge to that ancient text. But it was, in fact, a wheel within a wheel. It wasn't a spaceship at all. You see how we can just get it wrong like that?
Well, they called the chariots of fire, flaming chariots of fire flying through the sky. They were UFOs. They weren't chariots. They were UFOs. And they didn't have a word UFO, so they called them chariots of fire. So there were aliens there. Jesus spoke about them. All right, he says, don't get involved with them. Don't follow them. The same as he said, don't follow Lucifer. So, I mean, he taught teachings that were going on that people had to understand at that time. But he used the words that they did. I mean, now people don't even believe in demons and entities and they're not real. That's your choice.
Yeah. Now, did you get this information? I'm sorry. Did you get this information about Mary Magdalene because you were there or because she told you or how?
I was there with her when Jesus came into the temple.
And when were
she lived in?
Okay, so you time traveled back then, or that was a previous life?
Previous life.
Okay. How many lives have you had?
Over 100. Everybody has at least 100. Starting back before they even came to this planet, when they were soul and they came down into this planet.
Yeah, that's sort of a Hindu teaching there, isn't it?
It's a Hindu teaching, but they don't understand God. They don't talk
have you
about
made
it?
And again, I'm not an expert on Hinduism, but isn't it one of their tenets that if you do something wrong, you got to go and live another life? And if so, you lived 100. It sounds like maybe if that truth applies, you got something in your past that you're trying to make amends for, and you just can't seem to have go on into eternity permanently.
Here's the thing. All right, they talk about past lives, and the word is karma. Every action you do, if you kill somebody, is called karma. Whether how you decide to call it yourself, whether you felt justified about doing it. When you hit a child, when you do anything, it's karma. The Ten Commandments say you cannot curse. So everybody that says Jesus Christ or God, whatever, they're creating something against the Ten Commandments of their own religion. And it says in the Revelations, it says you can't go to heaven if you do those things. So these people should read the Bible if that's what they want to believe in. But karma is real.
Well, it also says it's harder to go through an eye of a camel to go through an eye of a needle, too. But what it's saying is that's because we all need somebody who could be a propitiation for our evil deeds, and the whole thing proves that we can't live a perfect life. And now you mentioned earlier the hundreds of extra rules that Moses wrote again to prove that we can't meet all of those requirements if we were to have it written down, therefore, or have a set of laws that would not require us to have an intermediary. So isn't that what that's really all about? And to show us that we need that intermediary, Tommy?
The Ten Commandments was only a way to live life. If everybody on this planet followed the Ten Commandments, the world would be perfect. It would be perfect. There would be no problems. But people can't live by the simple laws because people don't want to believe that a law is important. Now, here's something that I'll tell you. You don't have to believe it. When you leave this world and you go into the astral plane, you will stay there for a period of time, up to 10 years, before you reincarnate, if you have to reincarnate. When you do, you have the same karma that you left with that you have to pay back for. So, again, when you say karma, yes, it's real. But if you paid your karma off and you go to the astral plane, you have the ability to go to the next realm, to a higher realm, where it's much more spiritual. When you work with beings of light, which they are there, people will talk about them and stuff, but it's a different realm and it's a different reality. But you can't go there believing sex is important and drugs are important, sports are important. Any of those things don't exist there.
Again,
I
that's
mean,
that's Hinduism, isn't it? To deny.
no. They don't go past the astral plane.
Yeah,
That's their
but
God.
don't they teach that self denial is the way to perfection?
That's only man's programming. They deal with deities. They deal with Shiva, Durga, Kali, Manjushri,
Some kind of
the
freak with a bunch of
elephant
arms.
god.
Doesn't got like some kind of freak with a bunch of arms. Hey, got another question for you. It says from Curious, I have a live chat. Are Jesus and Yeshua one and the same?
Yes, he is.
Okay. Alrighty. See if I want to make sure I get the rest of these questions. Why, Phil in North Carolina? Why haven't these so-called aliens manifested themselves to the world to address the nations? What are they waiting for?
You know, people ask that question all the time. There's not a problem with that because they don't want to. I mean, they're doing what they want with us. If you have a bunch of cows and you got them running around eating grass, do you go out there and watch them and make them eat grass and make them do this? No, they're doing what you need them to do. They come back, they give you milk or whatever. So they got us doing what they want us to do. We're polluting the planet. We're destroying it.
Well, unless you're in India and you got a bunch of cows walking around with a bell because they think it's Uncle Fred. So that goes back to that question of why religions that don't make sense.
Well, here's the thing. I deal with a lot of big people. Now, we're going to go into the computer realm world within the next 10 years.
Okay.
Everything's going to be computerized. The cars are being okayed to be on the road this year now. They're going to be driverless cars riding on the road. All right.
Yeah, true.
That's only the danger because once that starts, it's just like the first. You remember the story of Paul Bunyan and the machine? Well, basically, it's man going against machine. Machine will always outdo man. And if computers can outdo men, why have men do it?
I'm all messed up now because Paul Bunyan, I always thought Paul Bunyan was the guy who took a big axe and felled a tree. Was he doing something else or I got the wrong Paul Bunyan?
Well, yeah, it was. No, there was two people. He had to go in competition with the machine that was cutting down the trees.
Oh, I didn't know that part of it. Okay.
They were both cutting the trees down.
Guess I better reread that.
But he lost to the machine. Right? He lost to the machine. And then he went walking out into the woods with his axe. But what I was trying to say is the computer world will destroy the planet as well. Even X-Files just 2 nights ago showed it as what's going to happen. It's just too obvious. With drones, planes coming over your house, delivering packages, and driverless cars coming to your house with pizza, all these things. What do they need you for then? People don't realize how much it's going to change every time we take a giant step forward. The same as these I don't know if you know Mr. Bigelow. He's one of the richest people in the United States, but he's also the biggest name in the UFO world. He knows everything that the United States government has, and he also is creating those stations up in space because he's planning on leaving.
I don't know him, but I know Mr. Magoo.
Well, check him out. Check Mr. Bigelow. He's the one that's responsible for the space stations they're putting up there. They're going to try to create a civilization up in space now as well. He's putting them up there right now.
Well, listen, I'm with you on this driverless car AI, and look, I'm already upset because of all these chemtrails. Last thing I want to see is a bunch of drones dropping off Amazon packages, man. They're going to hit birds, and it's going to be nasty. When I look up, Tommy, I just want to see big puffy white clouds floating around, man. That's all I want to see up there.
I do too. You know, I work with Michael Murphy. He's the one that put out the movie, What in the World Are They Spraying and Why Are They Spraying? If you never saw those two movies, he was the first person out there lecturing on chemtrails. He went around the world to every government, and nobody would talk to him. So I gave him thousands of pictures within a year of chemtrails every day that we have here. It's really bad. And there's tests. You can buy a test kit for $50 and prove that it's real. Oh. But people still don't believe that. They don't want to believe that. And we also had Monsanto's here, the company up on top of the mountain. And he closed the water supplies to all the farms up there because he said his pollen got onto all their plants. So it was all his farm now, the company. So, yeah, that's one of the most evil companies in the world right now, taking over the food supply. And the president's giving them full support right now. So we're in trouble. Our food's toxic. Our air's toxic, and the ocean will be dying within 2 to 3 years. Hey, not that I promise you that.
Who would have been better for the country? Would Hillary Clinton been a better president than Trump?
You know, it's like saying Lucifer or demon. Which one would be better? They're both in the same class. I mean, Hillary has her problems as well,
Well,
serious
I would say the
problems.
one that doesn't require a colostomy bag would probably be better.
I think Bernie would have been better than the two of them. That's for sure.
So you kind of for the socialism or communism? Isn't that what he kind of thinks?
Well, you know, I'm for spirit and truth, and we don't have it. Nobody knows the truth. Nobody knows how we got
let
to
me
this
ask you
planet.
something. Who do you think is more spiritual, Hillary, Donald Trump, or Bernie Sanders?
I I would just kind of lean with Bernie, but I don't know him personally, so I don't know how he really
Has he
is.
said anything spiritual at all ever?
I don't think so. I don't think
Then why did you say
anybody does.
then why would you select him?
You know, you have a right to vote. You use it or lose it. Uh,
No. I meant no. I want to stay on
I,
that. The spiritual aspect of it. You said that he was probably the most spiritual, but you said he never said a spiritual thing in his life. Well, then how did you
but
determine
he
that?
cares. Wait, because he cares about poor people
Is that why
more
he
than
has?
Trump does,
Is that why
than Hillary
is
does.
that why he has three houses worth over $500,000 each?
You know, you said part of it before. It's easier for a camel to go through an eye of a needle than a rich person to go into heaven. No rich person will get into heaven. Period.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the fact of that reason. I'm not saying he's a spiritual
Well,
being, but
that statement was
just like
well again that statement,
just like
Tommy. That statement was used to say that you can't do it on your own. You need somebody to help you, to be there, to be your lawyer, to be your advocate when you cross over to the next life and your life is played before. If our lives are played before the great white throne or God or spirit, whatever you say is over there, it's not going to be good for us unless we got somebody stepping in and said, "Hey, I know them, and their spirits are good."
no, I don't know if you ever heard of there's a place in the astral plane where it's all wisdom and knowledge is stored.
Mm.
Uh, People say they go there and they see the history, they see past, they can see their lives. Uh, People believe in it. It's written in the Hindu religion as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it's based on everything's in fact. Everything's written there, the past, present, and future. So that would mean you can't make a decision that's not already programmed and predestined. But then again, God knows what we did, what we're going to do to the world, and that's why certain things do happen to the world. And when we do get destroyed, when each time the whole continent gets wiped out, there is a reason for that.
Tommy, I got your book in our background now, the True Teachings of Jesus. Can you give us one of the teachings that you say is the true teachings of Jesus?
Well, I don't want to go in that in detail at all, not until you read the book. But basically, Jesus had to teach his disciples about soul, what they are. Because Jesus talked about death, and that's in the Bible. Jesus said, give your life for God and you'll have eternal life. He said it in many places. And when he was speaking, he said it's not about life. It's about life of spirit, letting the body die. And people are holding on to the body, want to live forever, want to make their body old and live forever. Why? To see your children die, to see your animals die, to see everything around you die. Mankind, ego is powerful. And as long as it thinks it's important, and the human race thinks they're important. And I say, to who? I said, ant colony thinks they're important to an ant colony, the same as a bee colony thinks they're important to a bee colony.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So who's really important?
Love to be.
Are they not separate? Yeah, aren't they? Bees save the world. They help the world. So are they important? Of course they are.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all dying now too. So there's a reason why everything's starting to die, because mankind's killing everything.
Mm-hmm.
So God will give us our karma back, what we deserve. And I believe what they say in the army: kill them all and let God sort it out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Which is what they're doing.
But the Bible
I
does
can't.
the spiritual guidebook does refer to the body as a temple, and it indicates that there's some responsibility for the person, the spirit within that body, to take care of that body. So that's a good thing, isn't it?
Do you know what Jesus said?
What's that?
It's not what you put into your body. It's not what you put into your body. It's what comes out.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Well, he also, but
and that's basically true.
Yeah, but there's another tenet that says line upon line, precept upon precept. I mean, that is a single thing to do for sure. But if your body's not around, then nothing's going to come out of that body anyway.
Well,
I mean, you're going to be 6 feet under, so there's nothing coming out.
Let me finish what Jesus was teaching.
Okay.
He taught how to leave the body. He taught the disciples how to leave their bodies. So that's how they met with him. All right. In spirit body. They met his spirit. And I didn't mean a solid body walking the planet bleeding to death and whatever. So, I mean, yeah, the Doubting Thomas's story. Doubting Thomas. Thomas was Jesus' closest disciple. He was called Doubting Thomas because he was the only one that was smart. He asked Jesus questions. Nobody else did. They listened to what Jesus said. And when Jesus died, they all went into hibernation. They didn't know what to do because they didn't understand anything he said. Mary Magdalene had to finish teaching them. And if she didn't, there would have been no following of the story of Jesus, and there would have been no truth to any of the teachings afterwards. But the teachings were lost. And I'll say it had to do with the Knights of Templar being killed. And when that whole race was wiped out, because even when the disciples started traveling the world, you know, Thomas made it to India and started teaching about Jesus in India to the Hindu people. I mean, there's a lot of stories that were never confronted or brought out because nobody cares. But the true teachings.
What one teaching did Jesus tell the disciples on how to leave their bodies?
All right. It's actually the form of meditation. Nobody was allowed to do meditation in those days. If you were caught doing it, you were killed.
Okay.
Anybody caught sitting in a position of meditation was killed in those days. They were put on a cross right away. His teachings were condemned at that point. Now, here's the thing that you should understand. There's 40 Gospels. The Bible was made by, the New Testament was made by 4 Gospels. If you read Thomas's, Mary Magdalene's, Judas's manuscripts, you'll understand a lot more about what was going on when Jesus was alive. There's a lot more psychic energy, a lot more things about that in those in those Gospels. So if you want to read what's not put in the Bible, I mean, even the book of Enoch was taken out of the Bible.
Okay.
Why was that?
Okay. Well, all right. Back to the question though. What teaching? What specific teaching did Jesus tell them to how to get out of their bodies and move around?
It's a whole procedure of what you have to do to get out of your body.
For instance,
about sitting down, closing your eyes, going into meditation, focusing on the white light, and go into that white light. And when you go into that light, know that the angel, what you call it, the angel of light, will be there.
Well, that sounds like that sounds like a more teaching of transcendental meditation from the '60s.
Well, that's what transcendental meditation came later on, without the exception of God.
Okay, all so right? You're saying Jesus told the disciples to sit down and meditate. Is that written down somewhere? Where's that? Where can I find that? Where can I verify that?
Well, here's what I'll tell you. If you want the truth, and you don't believe anything I say, that's fine.
Okay, no, I didn't say. No, wait a minute, Tommy. I didn't say I don't. I didn't say I don't believe everything you said. I did not say that. I just asked the question.
Give yourself. Here's what I do. I say you don't have to believe anything I say, but try to listen to what I tell you to do. Give yourself 30 days nonstop of doing this meditation on a proper time, but you cannot skip one day. And I promise you'll have an experience, and that experience will open you up to death. And when you experience death, you'll start understanding the light.
You seem to be skipping my question. What teaching did Jesus give them to get out of their bodies?
I just kind of went through it.
You said okay, but then I said a follow-up was, where can I verify that Jesus told them to sit down and meditate?
Nothing Jesus or Mary Magdalene did is in any manuscript except maybe Judas's and Thomas's. If you read what they said, what Jesus was teaching at that time, they talk about the light, they talk about different things, which wasn't mentioned because you have to realize when Jesus went out to the streets, he was dealing with farmers and people that had no clue of religion. They were all programmed little people doing their daily chores. They didn't know anything else.
And
nothing was written.
Okay.
Nothing was written that Jesus said.
Okay. Why did Jesus want them to leave their bodies?
Because the world is hell. This is hell. We don't go to hell. We are in it.
Okay, so you're saying back then it was hell.
You see the way they maim people, put them on cross and sacrifice people? How they raped all the women? Women weren't considered anything. Do you realize what? It was hell. It was always hell. Go back to Atlantis. Atlantis was the only time this planet was in bliss and peace. When it went down under the ocean, we suddenly became mass murderers, and then the aliens took over, and then we became warring creatures. Eating everything.
Okay. So did the disciples transcendental meditation themselves out of this world, or did they die natural deaths?
Here's the thing. They had to learn the technique to meet with Jesus. Jesus wasn't here in the body anymore. So for them to meet with them, they had to leave their body to meet with soul. It's like if your grandmother died today and she's in heaven. How are you going to meet her? You just can't say, you have to leave your body to go there to meet with her.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And that's the only way you're going to meet with your grandmother. You're not going to meet with her here. She's not going to walk around on this planet again, is she?
Mm-hmm.
No matter what anybody says. Of course not. So it's a matter of spirit and learning what spirit really is and how to tune in and become part of that as soul. We are soul. And Jesus was a soul. He never claimed to be anything other than that.
And there's a lot of Democrats that are ass souls. Hey, a question. One final question here. This is from Peter in Australia. If, according to you, Jesus wasn't God, then why did Jesus not correct Thomas when he said, "My Lord and my God"?
Who wrote that?
I don't know.
They called him his father. They started worshiping him when they traveled with him and they met with him after he was alive and died. Then suddenly he was something super powerful. Then they understood what soul was rather than the body. And then they considered him a spiritual person. All right. When Jesus, I mean, even when Thomas supposedly touched his cut and stuck his finger in his wound and everything, that's all story. It was written by people that created the story. Like when you read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, there are 4 stories of 4 people that 2 of them couldn't even write. So how did they write the story? They didn't. So, and when I told you, 2 of them were evangelists, and they took stories that they read from them and created their story to say that they were there. Here's one last thing you think about. Why, in all the Bible history, people believe people that had experiences through visions. People don't believe visions anymore. People say, well, you can't see the future, you can't see the past. Well, all these people, I mean, Paul never saw Jesus in the physical body. He learned how to leave his body and meet with Jesus. And that's a fact. He goes into a vision. It's called a vision because in that time, translation of it, that's the word they came up with. And then have a vision.
Okay. Well, Tom, we're getting near the end of the broadcast. Quick question for you. You've talked with me for an hour or so. So do you judge me to be a good soul or a bad soul?
Oh, no, I think you're cool.
All right. So
I think you're a good soul.
Okay. So do you think I have to go through a bunch of lives, or you think I just do this one?
Here's the thing. What I'll tell you, don't kill anybody. Don't hurt any children. You'll be okay.
Okay. All right, Tommy Hawksblood, if you'd like to say anything about your book in the closing seconds or so, or any wisdom that you got from the Indian elders, whatever you want to say, you go ahead and say it right now. Please
go out and read my new book. It'll open your eyes to a lot of things. I go into detail about certain things, about children, and about what's happening to the world and why. There's reasons everything's happening. And we're at a bad place now because we got intervention from aliens and bad people and program people. And the program people are probably the worst out of them all. So please, don't take anything that you don't believe in. That's fine. If you want to prove that out-of-body experiences work and is real, try it. Read my first book. I'll send it to you for free. It's a simple technique. You just got to give 30 days to it. And I promise. There's also one other technique out there called Kunlun. Max Christopher teaches it. And he teaches you how to have a death experience within 10 days or 20 days.
Wow.
And once you have that, it opens you up to a new reality.
Okay.
His name is Max Christopher.
Okay. All right, Tommy Hawksblood, I appreciate you coming on the Edge television broadcast. You have a good time tonight?
Oh, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much for bringing me on. It was definitely fun.
All right. All right.
It was a pleasure.
Thanks so much, and stay safe out there in the Big Island.
Yes, thank you. You too.
All right, everybody, that was Tommy Hawksblood there here on the Edge television broadcast. Next week, we're going to have with us Klaus Donna talking about out-of-place artifacts. And we know they're out there. Maybe if you go dig in your backyard, maybe you'll find something that shouldn't be there. Where did it come from? 2 weeks, Dr. Leo Garland's going to be with us. He is going to be talking about the immortality of the soul. Followed by Robert Schock, who's going to talk about he's an archaeologist and who has been to the Great Sphinx, and he says the story we've heard about it is not true. We'll hear his story here in a couple of weeks. Dr. Kenneth Hansen is going to be with us talking about the paranormal aspects of the Bible, and followed up by Stan Dale, Earth Changes. Well, thank you everyone for your great questions, and stay in tune with the broadcast tonight. Be sure to tell everybody in your contact list about The Edge. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, where this program will be uploaded here shortly after the program ends. Daniel Lott for The Edge. Bye-bye.